Now, Khubayb ibn Adi radiallahu anhu was the only one left. Of those 10 nafar, from those 10 people, the only person remaining was Khubayb ibn Adi radiallahu anhu. Now, he was taken to Bani Nawfal, and they basically imprisoned him. And what they decided to do was they took him as a prisoner. And I'm not sure what exactly the reason was, but maybe someone was traveling on vacation, or Allah Alam what the reason was. But they actually waited. They kept him under imprisonment for a while, and then the months of the Ashur al-Haram, the secret months came in, and then they waited after that to kill him. So there was basically he was imprisoned for quite a while. And one of the women who later becomes Muslim, and they say that she was the daughter of Harith ibn Amr. So Harith ibn Amr, the one they were seeking revenge for, one of his own daughters later becomes Muslim. Okay, and she was the one. Basically, they would take turns watching Khubayb, watching the prisoner. Okay, they had him locked up in like a cage or something in their house, or maybe behind the house or whatever they had, and they would take turns watching. So the daughter of Harith, she relates narration later on. She says, "Wallahi, I swear by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, ma ra'aytu asiran qat khayran min Khubayb." I have never seen any prisoner better than Khubayb. Now, she's the one, her father was killed by Khubayb. She wants revenge, they want revenge. And later on she says that I have never seen anyone better than Khubayb. And she says, Wallahi, I swear by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, لَقَدْ وَجَدْتُهُ يَوْمًا I came in one day, and she's watching him. She said, I came in one day, يَأْكُلُ مِنْ قِطْفِ عِنَبٍ فِي يَدِهِ وَإِنَّهُ لَمُوثَقٌ فِي الْحَدِيدِ. She says that I came in one day. Remember, you don't feed your prisoners, and you treat them in a good way, right? So, because you want to kill them, you want to torture them as much as possible. She says, one day I came in, and he's tied up, he has chains, and he's sitting there and he's eating grapes. He's eating grapes. So she says that he's tied up, وَمَا بِمَكَّةٍ مِّن ثَمَرٍ, and there was no fruit in Makkah. So this is the time, there was no fruit in Makkah, it's out of season basically. And he's in his prison or his cage, and he's eating grapes. So she's saying this, وَكَانَتْ تُقُولْ إِنَّهُ لَرِزْقٌ مِّنَ اللَّهِ رَزَقَهُ خُبَيْبًا radiallahu anhu. So she would say, this is rizq from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, meaning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent this rizq and sent him these grapes to eat. And this is similar to the famous story in the Quran itself, where Zakaria alayhi salatu salam, Prophet Zakaria alayhi salam, when he was taking care of Maryam alayhi salam, and he would go into the mihrab, and remember she would remain in the mihrab, she wouldn't come out. He would go in and he would bring the food for her, and she would be worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala day and night. So he comes in one day and he finds that she has fruit that's not even in season. She has fruit in her mihrab. He didn't bring it. He's the only one taking care of her. No one else is allowed to go in the room. And she's eating fruit that's not even in season. It's not even the time of that fruit, and she's eating fruit. And he says to her where did you get this from? And she responded by saying that huwa min indillah, inna Allah yarzuqu man yashau bighayri hisab. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives to whoever He wills without any hisab, without any hisab. So this is a similar incident happened to Khubayb radiallahu anhu. Now one thing, that same daughter of Harith, she narrates, she says that when the time had come, the only request that Khubayb asked for, he said that when the time of my death comes, let me know. Let me know when the time comes, so I'm informed, so I'm basically ready for it. And when the day came, they told him that we're gonna kill you today. And Khubayb radiallahu anhu asked for a razor. Now he asked for a razor so he can clean himself up, his pubic hair and stuff, and he can do this. And we know that it's sunnah. It's against the sunnah to allow more than 40 days to pass without cutting that hair. So Khubayb radiallahu anhu, he's not in a position to use that, but now he knows he's going to die and he's going to be killed, so he wants to be in a state of sunnah. So he basically asks for a razor, and basically she gives him a razor. Okay, and this is something like nowadays. In the last 10 days, those who were doing qurbani, they're not allowed to cut your hair and nails. And Mufti Taqi Usmani, Hafidullah, and others, ulama, they say basically, because some people ask, they say, oh, I forgot to cut my hair before the 10 days started, what can I do now? And the same response, like Mufti Taqi Usmani, Hafidullah said, he said that if it's been more than 40 days, and you have the pubic hair that's growing, then you have to cut it. You can't just say, okay, I'm going to do qurbani, I'm going to wait, because you're going against the sunnah. So to follow one sunnah going against another sunnah, that's not right. So basically, he says that you should. So anyways, Khubayb Radhan was given this razor, and this lady, she had a small baby, okay, she had a child that goes into the cage, or goes into the room where Khubayb Radhan was, and he's sitting right next to Khubayb. And she says that I realized later that, I gave him a razor, and where's my child? So she's looking for her child, and she finds her child sitting right next to this prisoner. And he's on death row. He's about to be killed that day. So in our thinking, in her thinking, what is he going to do? He's going to try to take revenge as much as he can. He's going to take this little baby, and he's going to slaughter it. And he has a razor. And she narrates, she says, فَوَجَدْتُهُ مُجْلِسَهُ عَلَى فَخِذِي. He says that I saw that Khubayb had placed my child on his lap. So he's holding my child in one hand, وَالْمُوسَى بِيَدِي, and in the other hand he has the razor. Okay, so he has a razor in one hand and he has a child in another. And she says, فَفَزِعْتُ, and where's Hasib? He asked me that word yesterday, right? فَزِعَ يَفْزَعُ. So فَزِعْتُ, she says that I became alarmed. Okay, she says I became alarmed and shocked that he's going to kill my kid. He's gonna just slaughter him because we're about to kill him, and just out of spite or out of revenge, he's gonna do it. So she became alarmed. فَزْعَةً عَرَفَهَا خُبَيْبٍ. So she says that فَزَتْهُ فَزْعَةً, that I became so afraid and so alarmed, like shocked, that she had this look on her face of fear, full of fear, that Khubayb Radhan saw in my face how afraid I was, and he understood what I'm thinking. He understood that I'm afraid that he's gonna kill the child. So Khubayb Radhan says, تَخْشَيْنَ أَنْ أَقْتُلَهُ, that you are afraid, you think that I'm gonna kill him, you think I'm gonna kill this child. He says, مَا كُنْتُ لِأَفْعَلَ ذَلِكَ. He says that I would never do this. And this is again for the Muslims. Muslims do not kill innocent people. We are not terrorists. We don't kill innocent children. We don't kill old people. We don't kill women. We don't even cut down trees in war. Okay? So this is something we need to understand when these lies and these things are given against us, that this is not part of Islam. Now he could have easily killed that child and said, this is for Asim Radhan and his companions. This is for Zayd ibn Dathinna Radhan. This is for Abdullah ibn Tariq Radhan. And said, these are for these, I'm taking revenge. This is for my life. You guys think you can just kill me and I'm not going to do anything? I'm just going to kill as many as I can of you, even if it's a child. He could have said that, right? He could have done that. But this is against the tenets of Islam. So he says that I would never do this. Now, Khubayb Radhan, what they did was, and he's actually the first one to be crucified and killed on a cross, for a shaheed on a cross. So what they did was they took a tree, they made a cross out of it, and they basically set it up in Tan'im. Tan'im is where? Where's Tan'im? Famous place. There's a masjid there. It's
One of the places in Makkah is
what? It's in Makkah, and there's a masjid, famous masjid there. What's the name of the masjid? Come on, guys. You do Umrah from there. Or the people of Makkah do. Yeah? Masjid Aisha, radhiallahu anha. Yes, Tan'im. Okay? So where the people of Makkah, if they want to do Umrah, they don't go to Dhul Hulayfa in Medina, they don't go to Taif, or they go to other places to do Ihram. They go right outside of Makkah, the boundaries of the hudud of Makkah, and this is where Masjid Aisha is, Tan'im, and they do Ihram. And if you did Umrah and you want to do another Umrah, you can go, you take your Ihram, you go to Tan'im, and you can do your Niyyah of Ihram and come back and do another Umrah from there. Okay, so that's Tan'im. So what they did was they set up a place, and maybe one of the reasons is that that's outside the boundaries of Makkah, so they wanted to kill him outside. Maybe they out of respect for the boundary of the Haram, but they took him outside to Tan'im, and they hung him up on the cross. And what they did, they started cutting up his body in pieces. They started cutting away from his body, stabbing him, cutting him, slapping him, beating him. Okay, while he's tied up like this. And when he was about to be killed, Khubayb radhiyallahu, he was asked, "Do you have any last requests?" He says, "I have one request. Can you allow me, just give me a time to do 2 rakat of prayers? Let me do 2 rakat of prayers." And he is actually awwalu man sanna hada. So the first one to ever ask to do 2 rakat before they're about to be killed is Khubayb radhiyallahu. He's the one who started this practice, this sunnah, you could say. Okay, so he started this, and basically he says that let me do 2 rakat. He went, did wudu. They allowed him, and they're all watching. They're all gathered. The people of Makkah are gathered to watch him, or to kill him, right? To watch him die. So they're watching him, and he does 2 rak'ah of prayer, and he does it really quickly. 2 rak'ah of prayer really quickly. Okay? And he turns to them and he says to them in a loud voice, he says, "Lawla an tadhunnu anna ma bi jaza'un latawwaltuha." He says that if it wasn't the fact that you would think I'm afraid of death, and that's why I'm prolonging my prayer, I would have prolonged it. Meaning that I did a quick prayer so that you don't think I'm scared. I'm not scared of death. I'm ready to die. But just because of that, I did not prolong my prayer. And then he made a dua. So he's tied up again. He's put up again on the cross. And he did dua against them. He says, "Allahumma ahsihim adada waqtulhum badada wa la tughadir minhum ahada." So he makes this dua against them. That, "Oh Allah, you know each and every one of these people who is present here. Basically take revenge, kill them all. Don't even leave one of them to live." So he made this dua against them, but we know that a lot of them did actually become Muslim later on. It was in their nasib, it was in their qisma, their fate that they became Muslim later on. So they were not affected by this dua. But this is again, you're making a dua, you're about to be killed, so he made a dua against them. And after making this dua against them, he started reciting poetry. And this is a proof of the strength of the iman of the Sahaba, that you're at a place where you're about to die, and you're about to be killed, and you're so relaxed that you started making up poetry on the spot, and you're reciting this poetry. So he says, "Ma ubali hina uqtalu muslima ala ayyi shiqqin kana lillahi ala ayyi shiqqin kana lillahi masra'i. وذلك في ذات الإله وإن يشاء يبارك على أوصال شلو ممزعي." So he says, I don't care if I am killed as a Muslim. Meaning that I'm being killed, I don't care if they kill me because I am dying in a state of iman. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us iman before we die, inshallah. So he says that I don't care if they're killing me because I'm going to die as a Muslim, inshallah. On any side of my body, I may be killed in Allah's cause. Meaning that they can cut me up, they can do whatever they want to my body, and whatever way I die and fall or whatever they can do, but I will die in the path of Allah, in the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For that is for the sake of Allah's very self. Meaning that inshallah, I'm doing this for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So basically I don't care. And if He will bestow His blessings upon the torn pieces of my body. So this is something, it's not something he was practicing or something someone else wrote and he memorized it. He said it fil badi'. He did it right then on the spot. He just started saying this poetry and right before he dies. Now, as they continue to torture him, as he's in that state, and Urwa ibn Harith, so this is the son of Harith, the one who was killed and the one they're seeking revenge for. So he comes and he poses the same question that Abu Sufyan posed to Zayd radhiyallahu anhu. He says to him, "Atuhibbu anna Muhammadan makanak?" Do you wish that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was in your spot right now? And basically that you would be safe and sound, and that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they're trying to they want to take his iman away. That's what they want, right? That's what the kuffar want from us. They kill us, they do things to Muslims, they torture, they do all the dhulm they do, but the main thing is that they are jealous of our iman, and they don't want us to die as Muslims. They don't want to have to have that satisfaction of dying as a Muslim. So they said that, do you want that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is in your spot right now? And Khubayb radhiyallahu anhu responds. Again, Khubayb radhiyallahu anhu was not there at the death of Zayd. radiallahu anh. He did not see, did not hear what happened to Zayd radiallahu anh. And no one came and informed him, guess what? This is what he said before he died, and this is what he was asked before he died. But this is again from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He was asked the same question, and he responded in almost exactly the same way. He says, La wallahi, I swear by Allah, no, I do not want the Prophet to be in my spot. Ma uhibbu an yufdiyani bi shawkatin fi qadami. Even if there was agreement that was being made, that I am saved, meaning that you leave me alone, you free me, and you send me back to Medina, and one thorn pricks the Prophet ﷺ's foot, I would not agree to that. One thorn pricking the Prophet ﷺ in the foot, I would not be satisfied with that if I can go freely. So this is amazing that they did this, and then they, in their anger, they started stabbing him and torturing him even more, and then with spears and then they crucified him after that. One thing, that I didn't mention, just before his death, just before the last blow, and just before his ruh was taken from his body from the angel of death, Khubayb radhiallahu anhu, he says, Allahumma, makes a dua. He says, Oh Allah, Allahumma inni la ara illa wajha adu. He says, all I see around me are the faces of the enemies watching. Remember, they're all watching, they're all eyes on Khubayb, watching him die. And he says, all I see are the faces of my enemy. Allahumma innahu laysa hahuna ahadun yuballighu rasulak sallallahu alayhi wa sallam as-salam anni. There is no one here, there is no one present here who can go and say my salam and take my salam to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. فَبَلِّغْهُ أَنْتَ عَنِّ السَّلَامِ. So he said, Oh Allah, so you go and please give the Prophet ﷺ, Oh Allah, you give the salam, my salam to the Prophet ﷺ. And the Prophet ﷺ, sitting about 400 kilometers away in Medina Munawwara, he received wahi right then. He's been given wahi while Khubayb radhiallahu was in this state. And the Prophet ﷺ, فَلَمَّ سُرِّيَ عَنْهُ. So the Prophet ﷺ went into a state of wahi, when wahi was nuzul, the state that he would go into, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And then when he woke up from that state, he says, Wa alayka as-salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So he says, basically responding to Khubayb radhiallahu anhu, he says, Wa alaykum as-salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And he says, Hada Jibreel yuqri'uni as-salam min Khubayb. Khubaybun qatalathu Quraysh. So the Prophet ﷺ informs the Sahaba, he says, this is Jibreel alayhi salam, he just came to me and he gave me the salam of Khubayb and Quraysh radhiallahu anhu, and Khubayb was killed and murdered by the Quraysh. Now one thing that after the Khubayb radhiallahu anhu was shaheed in this way, we know that there's a nickname that he was given. So in the Battle of Uhud, there was Hanzala radhiallahu anhu, Ibn Abi Amir radhiallahu anh, he was given a nickname. Anybody remember what was the nickname he was given? Barakallahu fi. Ghasil al-Malaika, he was the one who was washed by the angels, right? Khubayb radhiallahu anh, the nickname that he was given, Bali'ul Ard. He was given the nickname Bali'ul Ard, the one that was swallowed up by the earth. And basically what they did was they left his body up there in the scorching sun, in the hot sun. They left his body in Tan'im, hung up there, and they all went home. They went back to Makkah, and his body is basically left there. And the Prophet ﷺ sent Al-Miqdad radhiallahu anh, and Zubair radhiallahu anh, these two Sahaba. They were excellent horsemen. They were sent from Medina to go and retrieve the body of Khubayb. So they went to Makkah, to retrieve the body of Khubayb radhiallahu anh, and so they can give him a proper janazah and burial and whatnot. So when the Quraysh found out that they had come and they were basically untying his body, taking his body down, they sent a force out to go and attack these two Sahaba, so that they won't be able to take the body. So they start chasing after them, and Zubayr radhiallahu anh had the body on his horse with him, and as he was galloping away, with the weight and stuff, and he was basically forced to basically drop the body of Khubayb radhiallahu anh. He's not going to be able to run away because of the weight, and they're chasing after him, so he had to drop the body of Khubayb. The body of Khubayb radhiallahu anh drops on the earth, and immediately the earth opens up and Khubayb radiallahu anhu's body is swallowed up by the earth, and basically it's nowhere to be seen. So meaning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave the proper burial to Khubayb radiallahu anhu. One other thing I just want to mention, inshallah, before I end, I know I'm going over the time, that in relation to the Khubayb radiallahu anhu's death, there was a man by the name of Sa'id ibn Amr. Sa'id ibn Amr radiallahu anhu. He was actually a young child, when Khubayb radiallahu anhu was being tortured and killed. And he was there present at the death of Khubayb radiallahu anhu. So he's watching this. He's a young child and he's watching this. He's watching what they're saying. He's listening to what they're saying and what Khubayb radiallahu anhu is saying. And he was present there. And later on, when he becomes Muslim, and he become in the time of Umar radiallahu anhu, Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu, when he was Khalifa, he appoints Sa'id ibn Amr radiallahu anhu as a governor of a place called Amessa in Syria, in Sham. So he's in one of these cities, he's appointed the governor there. And when he was a very pious man, Sa'id radiallahu anhu was a very pious man, and he basically, Umar radiallahu anhu, that's why he appointed him. He would only appoint those that he would trust, those who were muttaqi, those who were pious, and he trusted him and he knew he was a good man, so he sent him. Now Umar radiallahu anhu was very particular. He would go and he would check up on his people, the ones that he had sent as an amir or governor, and he would check up on them and make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, and that the people are happy with them and there's no complaints. So he actually goes to Sham and he asked the people, what do you think of your amir? What do you think about Sa'id ibn Amr radiallahu anhu? And they respond, they said, we have 4 complaints about him. We have 4 complaints. Otherwise, he's a good man. He's a good person. But we have 4 complaints against Sa'id ibn Amr radiallahu anhu. And he says to him that, okay, what are these complaints? And basically he asks Sa'id radiallahu anhu to come in the presence of the people so he can answer them and find out what's going on, what's these complaints. So he comes, and the people were asked by Umar radiallahu anhu, what are these 4 complaints? What's wrong? And they said that the first complaint is that he comes out of his house very late in the morning. Okay, so in the morning he comes out very late. Basically, he sleeps in, or we don't know what he's doing. He comes out late in the morning. And Umar radiallahu anhu asked Sa'id radiallahu anhu that, can you explain this? Why do you come out late in the morning? He says that we have no servant. I don't have a servant. And remember, again, he's the governor. Okay, he could easily get a servant, but this is how much taqwa that the Sahaba had and how simple they were, that they wouldn't want this luxurious lifestyle for themselves while their people are living, or even some of their people are living in poverty. So he said that we don't have any servant, just me and my wife. That's all. It's just me and my wife. So in the morning after we do Fajr, we read some Quran. And then I help my wife cook the meals, and that takes some time. It takes time and clean up the house and whatnot. So it takes time. So that's why I come out late in the morning. So Umar says, okay, that's a reasonable answer. And then what's the second complaint? So the second complaint, they say that at night he does not attend to anyone. He does not answer us. If we go to his house, knock on the door, he doesn't respond. He doesn't open his door. He doesn't come out at night. And this is one of the things that Imams will tell you sometimes. Imam Sohail, you can ask, or even, when I was Imam in Bloomington and stuff, and other Imams, sometimes you'll get calls 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, weird questions. Sometimes they're legitimate, husband-wife problems or something else, whatever, but you have people coming to you at night. So they said that the second complaint is that when we come to him at night, he does not attend to anyone. And Sa'id was asked by Umar, can you explain what's the response to this? And he said that I have reserved the day for the people to attend to their problems. I'm their governor and I attend to their problems. But the night is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. My night is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he says that as I attend to God, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala during the night, I cannot attend to any person while I am attending to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So meaning while I'm praying, I'm not going to attend to anyone else. So that's basically, and this thing very important for us to understand. The complaints that we all get from families, and children, for example, and stuff. Our own families and children, I'm talking about, is they tell us like if we're on the phone all day, or we're spending time a lot of times and stuff like that, and they get annoyed, and that's right. You give time to them, and then at night we should give more time, do pray tahajjud, and do adhkar and read Quran and that kind of stuff, instead of wasting time on the social media and this kind of stuff. So this is the second complaint, and it was answered. The third complaint. So the third complaint is that once a month he would come out of his house very late in the afternoon. So once a month he comes out very late in the afternoon, and I'm not sure exactly if this is once a month or once a week, but basically he would come out late in the afternoon. And Sa'id radhiyallahu anhu was asked about this. He says that I only have one change of clothes with me. I only have one pair of clothes. Okay, so he says that once a week or once a month I wash these clothes myself. Okay, and he says that while it takes time to wash them and dry them, I have to wait. And when they're dried, then I put them back on and I come out. So it takes time. I have to remain in my house. I don't even have enough clothes to wear while my other pair of clothes is being washed. So this is why I'm held up in the afternoon. So again, Umar then says that's reasonable. And what's the fourth complaint? And they say that Sa'id radhiyallahu anhu, sometimes he falls into fits of unconsciousness. Meaning he falls down unconscious. Just he's in the masjid, or he's walking or something, or we're talking to him, and he'll just all of a sudden blank out and he'll fall down unconscious. And we're like, what is this? What's going on? What's wrong with him, basically? And Sa'id radhiyallahu anhu was asked about this, and he said that in Makkah he had witnessed how they had killed Khubayb radhiyallahu anhu, how he converted, how he was a convert to Islam and stuff, and he had been killed, and how this convert to Islam, the Khubayb radhiyallahu anhu, was such a strong Sahabi that he was tortured to death, and what they asked him and what they said to him, and the remarks about the Prophet ﷺ being in his makan and all that stuff, that basically they offered him safety and wealth and to be free if the Prophet ﷺ was in his place, like if they would do that. And he said that I would not want anything. I would not want anything like this to happen. So he says that this had an effect on me, and I was not Muslim at that time, but he said that I basically, that had a really huge effect on me. And basically whenever I think about that, and I think about what Khubayb radhiyallahu anhu said, and the love that he had for the Prophet ﷺ, he said, I'm overwhelmed, and I fall down unconscious because of the fear. And not only that, because of the dua that he made also. So he says this, and Umar radhiyallahu anhu dismissed the complaints, and he says that basically that you guys owe him an apology because of this, what you have complained against him has no base. So they all understood that Sa'id radhiyallahu anhu has a response for that, and there's nothing against him for that. So they asked for apology from him. So we'll stop there, inshallah. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.